Hello guys, Eloi Andaluz from VFX and Effective Technical Directors. Today, a little different tutorial. We will create this. I like it because it's a little different. There is no particles, it's only based on modifiers in Max, and I would like to show you how powerful is the stack modifier, and you can do a lot of cool stuff. You can follow this tutorial with, in fact, you can do this with Max 4 and upwards, but there is some stuff that with the newer versions of Max will be way easier. You will be able to do a workarounds, but to do what I am doing, you will need exactly 3ds Max 2018. Some stuff can be done a little different with previous versions. Being said that, I will use as well some of the new Tyflow modifiers. Tyflow is a particle system, but Tyson is including as well some modifiers. This will be possible to be done as well without Tyflow. You can do it with changing Tyflow with edit poly, but then the setup becomes a little more complicated. Not much, but you will need to do some extra steps. If you want to know them, let me know below. What we will see here is a little mix of everything. We will see data channels, OSL maps to create these kind of effects, and some older stuff, and I hope that you like it, guys. So let's go. So let's start. You can grab the ini file on Effective Technical Directors forum. I will have the link below. As you see, I use a torus node. Really, you can use whatever you want, but let's start with the same as the example I did. We have the torus, and we need, if you display the edge mode, we need to create a path because I need to have a helper that will move around selecting edges and doing a push modifier on it. So I need a path. Right now, what we can do is to reduce a little the number of segments. This will define how many squares we will have, segments mode. But you can see as well the node is not so good geometry because there is different distance here than there. We want something much more unified. So for that, what we can do is convert this to edit poly. Let's select a loop, doesn't matter what it is. You can as well do double click. And we can do create shape from selection. You can do this live because right now it's not totally procedural with MCG, but this will be something for another tutorial. Let's keep it this way. Now we have this. We can add a normalize spline on top of that because, as we said, the vertex, the nodes of this spline are not very well even distributed. We can do show nodes, and I like to do the nodes count. So that's a total number of nodes that we will have, and this will define the resolution of our final effect. Something like that, I think it's cool. We can rename that as shape path effect, for example, and bring it onto a new layer. It's good to be organized. We will need to have a sphere here, so as well create a geosphere. It's good, doesn't need to be very high res. This will be only to select some vertex, and we can do animation constraint, path constraint. Now this will animate this between 0 and 100. I will bring this. Normally you will have this timeline from 0 to 100, from 0 to 100. And then we want that after 100 we want to keep the animation. So what you can do, open the curve editor, and here on edit controller, out of range types, you want to use the linear. So now it will keep going, so it will loop. 0 to 100 will be 100%, but then doesn't matter how long it is, it will be keep looping. So now we have that. We want this sphere to select the vertex of our path, but our path has no geometry right now. To add geometry, there is renderable spline modifier. This will add what we want. We don't want to add more geometry than So we want this node to be a segment. You need to go to normalize a spline and do linear segments. As you can see, if this is unchecked, it's using the interpolation of the spline. With this, we'll create exactly the same. Each node is basically one loop. And now, what we can do, increase the radial to more or less something that we would like to have. It's a good time to say, okay, maybe this overall can be a little smaller. So we can scale down this slightly. And the thickness can be something like that. You can tweak this later, but that's kind of good. Now we need to convert this as a edit poly, but we will have a problem. If we go to edit poly, now this is an edit poly and we can select vertex, that is what we want, but the sphere is not anymore selecting moving across our path, because this sphere has a path position, but this is not anymore a path. So this can be a problem. How we will solve that and keep all this procedural? Let's delete this edit poly and we will do a clone, but instead of doing an instance, we will create a reference and we will call that magic effect, for example. This layer, we will rename it as helper. This will be our magic. Now this is referencing this geosphere. The magic effect is referencing that. So anything that we touch here will be affecting both of them. If we touch the thickness, it's affecting both thickness, magic effect and path effect. What we can do is take out the renderable spline from here. Now renderable spline is not anymore sharing it with path effect, it's only on our magic effect object. As you can see, we have the path. The path also is here, but only the magic effect has a renderable spline, and only this one will have an edit poly. So with that, what we did, we can even hide this, the path effect. With this, we don't care anymore. We can go to the editable spline, we can select some of the vertex, and we can move that with soft selection, and we will move our path and our final object, keeping everything procedural. So under the hood, you don't care anymore with this path effect. Let's keep adding stuff. Normally, you will be using a volume select if you are before 2017.1. 2017.1, we had something new, that is data channels, and you don't need to be afraid of that because it gives us much more features, and some of them are very cool for what we are trying to do. So let's add a data channel. Let's add some operators here. First operator that we need is a node influence. This is similar of volume select. And we need an output. We need to say, okay, we input this data, we will output as vertex output. That's all what we have. Don't worry, it makes something weird right now. We will fix that. On vertex output, what we want is to have a selection. So instead of position, let's select vertex selection. And as for the node influence, we need to select an object that we want to use as an influence. This will be this sphere. Could be a sphere, could be a helper. And let's adjust our maximum. You can see the colors, what we are doing. You don't want to select anything that is behind that. If you want to have some soft selection, it's cool. Okay, red means selected, blue means non-selected. Fall off. So basically now it's selecting where it's going. Now what is cool here is that we have hold time. So now if we add some hold time here, we can see that it's holding over time this selection and it's fading away. That's quite cool, it's what we want. You can adjust as much as you want this value here. And as well, you can do a strange over time to control gradually how you want to affect that. Maybe instead of fading so smooth, we want some fade more linear. But that's what we get, and this will be converted as a selection. So what we need to do now is simply use a push modifier. Let's add some value, and it's using the selection to apply the soft selection. Let's play. We have something like that. What I will be doing now will be possible to do as well without Tyflow. You can use edit poly with animation on, and it's possible to do it, but with the new Tyflow modifiers it's way easier. So if someone wants to use it without Tyflow, write me on the comments, I can post it somewhere. It's quite easy as well, but with Tyflow, as said, it's easier because we don't need to transform our selection to faces, and has some fading based on the selection that it's quite cool. So anyways, if you don't know Tyflow, you go check videos about Tyflow. It's a particle system, but Tyson on the last update also add some modifiers, and they are very cool. So what you need now on top of that is the typeface extrude. The cool thing about the typeface extrude is that it's operating over vertex selection and faces, but normally Max will not be able to operate with a face extrude over vertex, it needs to be over faces. The cool thing doing it over vertex is that it keeps the soft selection, and the soft selection is used to say how much we push. So you can see it's much more, the extrude is happening much more on here than here, so it keeps the gradient. What we will do is push it a little down, and also we have a scale. You can see what we are doing here is not really magic. Something that I see now is that we have too many segments, so what we can do is going down on renderable spline and reduce the number of sides. I think something like that will be more accurate, will be more even. Maybe even increase a little the number of segments, so it's a little more square. You can play as much as you want. And we have this already. That it's kind of cool. Typeface extrude, we will add in top of that a turbo smooth. Let's keep it at 2. And we have an effect that is something like that. Getting there. We have some cool effect there. If you want to make it more pronounced, basically you need to increase. Everything is procedurally at this point, so you can tweak any value there. You can increase the amount to make it more obvious. The geosphere, you don't need it. You can hide it. So now we get some effect like that. As we saw on the example, now what we need to do is to add a little of motion to get something more organic, so everything move around. We will do this with flex and the help of influence nodes. We was able to do that, but now since Max 2018 we had new ways to influence splines, and it's way easier. So what we need is an influence node. Influence node basically allows us to create a fall off or a soft selection over nodes on a spline. Let's display the geosphere and let's display this influence helper. What we can do is to move this on the same place, and let's link it so this will move together with the sphere. If we do it well, yes. Now let's take our magic effect, and before renderable spline, what we need to add here is an influence node. We need to create a spline influence. Let's add this spline influence not on the instancing level, but on the reference object, so it's not affecting our original spline. That's important. And we can see what's going on when we do this. Show nodes. Let's add influence helper, it's there. We can see that the nodes are selected. What we need to do is on existing selected values, do an override. And now we can see that near distance will give 0, far distance the value will be, let's say, 1. And with this helper now, we can control how far this soft selection is going. So all that for what? We are creating a soft selection, that's cool. We can add now on top of that an X form and simply scale it slightly. You can see the effect that it's having. So as you can see, this is the effect, it's moving slightly. And it's kind of cool, but let's see what more we can do. In top of this X form, we have the renderable spline, then the edit poly. In top of that, we can add a flex. Flex is giving some organic feeling, kind of a wiggle. The values, this controls how much the flex is happening. So you can see that if you increase this value, this will be way bigger. The strength is how much the strength will try to recover. I like to go lower. And sway, it's kind of a drag. Let's keep it low. Now if you play, you see this effect going on, that now it's too crazy. But let's adjust it, so we want less flex. The sway can be bigger. And let's do it again. Now we can see that it's having some flex going on. Again, maybe it's too much. We want something subtle. The sway can be bigger. And again, we have something more subtle and it's happening. You can see that organically everything is moving. And now we can see the final effect. We want the influence helper to be hidden. So we can go add it on the helper and hide this. So now this is what we get. Not bad. So at the end, the materials. On the final example, as we saw, we had some RAM going on there. This is a mix of data channels and OSL material. You will see that material in the OSL is super powerful. Let's see very fast, don't be afraid about that. We need on data channel, we are saving these colors. We can save out this information. Doesn't need to be here, because what I apply is based on curvature. We can do that as well with Arnold at render time, but I want to have it on the viewport. So after we have the push and the typeface extrude, I want to get a map of the different curvature of that. So let's add a data channel here. Add operators. And in fact, instead of doing it by default, let's do it even easier. It exists as a preset. What we can do is to do, so let's load one, because if it's there, why create it from scratch? What we need to have is a edge wear mask, I think it is. Let's load it. And yeah, this is it. We get a curvature and a vertex output is all what we need. Curvature, if you go down, it says it marks with different colors, convex, flat, and concave. By default, it's good, and you have a scale value. I think that 3 is okay. So we have values of 1 and values of 0. You can play as well with that. The latest thing we need to do is vertex output. Now we are saving to the map channel. It's only good to know what we are doing. Let's say we can add a name, curvature. So this will be saved on map channel 2 on the X. So it's RGB. So on the red color, we will save this information. It's all what we need to do. Now let's create a material. Let's press M. This is what I already did. Let's do it from scratch. We need a material. I use a physical material because physical material, if you know, it's physical, and it works with most renderers. So it will work with Art, Arnold, V-Ray, Corona. You can switch from renderer, but keep the same material. Let's apply it to our object. I have by default some reflections. In the latest max, to have reflections, the only thing that you need to do is to apply an HDRI on the environment map, and you will have it automatically here looking quite nice. Let's use base color. So to load what we are saving on the data channel, right click, maps, OSL, UVs, and we need a UV channel. We need to load the UV channel too. If you click and drag, we need to, this is a vector UV, we need only the red color. So with OSL we have all the stuff that we need. Let's go to Math, Vector, Components. We want to plug this on the XYZ. So now this is decomposed by XYZ. So we are saving all the data on X. Let's connect this to base color map and see what we are getting. And we get the information of between 0 and 1. So this is driving this. So, but we want to don't have black and white, so we want to have colors. So to do that, on OSL we have all types of things to play with. We can use color and do an interpolate. So this interpolates between two colors. We will use as data the X, and then what we can use is on values, let's add a color. Let's clone that. The mean value will be this color, max value will be this other color. So now we can select two different colors. Let's do a bluish, and then can be whatever, green, and let's plug it there. Now we are interpolating between these two colors with the turbo smooth applied. Will be a little nicer, and we can see it here. If you want to contrast more, you simply go to data channel, curvature, and scale value, you increase this value. And I think that it's pretty cool what you can do with OSL. OSL, you don't need to be afraid of it. It's super powerful. As you can see, we have a lot of different stuff to do. Another thing I forget to say is that I changed the reflection based on this selection. Since this is black and white, I plug this onto roughness map. Now in max 2020.2 we have different roughness, so now you can see that this is reflective, this has not so reflective, and you can add metalness or whatever. I add a little of metalness to give some coolish effect, kind of a balloon. And to keep improving with OSL, you can select any OSL. Now this is linked to a file, so you can read it if you want. You can see that the OSL map is really easy. That's a map created by Sap Anderson, one of the guys at Autodesk, doing very cool stuff, was a guru in Mental Ray and now implementing all OSL. All this means that it's simply information for you. So basically the OSL map, this map is created only doing that. You can create all types of inputs and outputs. Only you can clone that and you will create a new input here. It will be automatic. If you want to edit that and mess around, you need to unlink it, and now you can edit. So now you can, let's say, mean color. This will change when we do a compile shader. It has an error because now this mean doesn't found anything. So mean color. Let's compile it, and basically we change the input and output. It's really easy, and you can do all types of manipulation on the output. So you can say, you can multiply this by 2, whatever. It's very straightforward. So with OSL, now the maps, you have one map. You have, as we can see, we had a lot of maps with OSL, but the cool thing is that we can, if you need to change anything on this node, you can do it. It's not a closed node, you can do whatever. So that's the final result that we get. I hope that you like it and you learn different stuff, combining some stuff in 3ds Max, some of the new things that we can incorporate on our workflows, like the spline influence, the data channels that people are a little scared, I see, but it's really easy and you don't need to go into very deep to create some cool stuff that is very useful for us. Some stuff coming from Tyflow that makes our life way easier, like the typeface extrude that it's improving constantly. Now Tyflow is not even particles, you can use it, as you can see here, for stuff that it's not particle related. And the combination with data channels as well with OSL that give a lot of powerfulness to Max, and it's really not complicated to dip a little into OSL and to start creating or tweak your shaders. So I hope that you like at the end the final result. Please let me know in the comments if you would like to see more of that. I plan to create more tutorials with Tyflow, thinking particles. I am planning a big course, I think will be paid, but I need to see, because I plan to do a really big course about destruction, thinking particle related, but also different workflows in Max. Let me know in the comments below what you would like to see, if you would like to see more stuff like that, or other type of tutorials, and I would like to follow up with you guys. So thank you so much and see you soon.